Welcome to the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions. I'm your host, Cole Coleman, along with Claudio Pesavento, keyboardist of Mahogany Rush and the Chris Squire Band. On our show today, he's the co-owner of Medley Studios in Copenhagen, Denmark. And you know his guitar playing and production from many of the artists that he's worked with there, including the Dead Daisies, Mike Tramp, Dave Mustaine, Marco Mendoza, Glenn Hughes, and Joe Lynn Turner, and oh, so many, many more. Those are just a few of the artists he's worked with. Welcome to our show, Soren Andersen.
Thank you so much for having me on board. Good to see you here, Cole. How are you, man?
Doing all right over here. Thanks so much for taking time to come on and be with us.
Of course.
Soren, and checking out your social media pages, it looks like you have been currently or still are recently on tour. Who are you touring with?
Well, the last 18 months pretty much been heavy touring with Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple. The Burn album has a 50th anniversary, so we decided to do a full California Jam show, which is like the highlight of Burn. And it's been pretty fun. It's been good. And for me as a guitar player, to play all these songs and, step in the shoes of Richard Blackmore has been kind of a challenge. But on the other hand, I grew up with Deep Purple, so it's been a trip. Really, really, really a lot of fun. And
That was a great show, man, at the Canyon.
yeah,
I was there. Still Glenn still can hit those high notes. It's amazing how he can sing like that.
nobody understands how he does it, and he doesn't even understand himself why he's able to do it still. But he sounds totally intact. He's still the 20-year
Yeah,
old. That power voice. He got the tubes. He's a gifted guy.
Well, you'd have to say that he must be vocalizing correctly. That would be what vocal coaches would have to agree with that. If he's able to sing like that, he's doing it right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I have to ask you guys. I mean, it seems obvious, but I mean, you guys are performing Deep Purple classics.
That was the tour. Yeah, the I
Burn,
think
right?
I think it was called Glenn Hughes Performs Classic Deep Purple. So the majority of the set was Burn, but we did a couple of songs from Stormbringer and a few songs from Come and Taste the Band. So kind of the Glenn part
Hmm.
of Purple, the Mark III and
Sounds
Mark.
terrific. And Claudio, he just mentioned you were at the Canyon. Which Canyon room were you at?
The Canyon
Agora.
at Agora.
Agora. That's a great room. I love that room. There's several different canyon rooms. They actually even have a facility down here where I live. I live in Hermosa, but there's a place next door, Redondo Beach. They have a full auditorium, place there. But still, the Agora Hills is a great location.
It's amazing. And the sound system, the facilities backstage, and obviously as a European visiting America and play a place like the Canyon in Agoria, the legacy of that room, that I had a great night, let's be clear.
That's
Yeah.
great. Did you guys record any of it, like video wise?
No, we didn't. We decided to not to record it. Just to keep it authentic and like, okay, if you were there, you were there.
I got you. Besides being a recording engineer, I mean, you know as well as a lot of people, it's like funny things happen when the red light goes on.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
You can practice and
Hey,
practice, but when that red light goes on.
well, you have all the iPhones anyway.
Yeah.
So, also on your social media pages, it looks like you're doing live shows with the band Electric Guitars. So tell us about that.
Well, electric guitars is me and another guy called Mika, which is we kind of started it 10 years ago. We were both, working as sidemen in different Danish projects. And then just for fun, we decided to do a guitar band. We sing. We both do vocals, but it's mainly the guitars that carries the whole show. And heavy influenced by Kiss, Thin Lizzy, old school 70s, 80s rock, but mostly 70s rock. We for some reason we had a great start, and now we have a crowd, and we do this little Christmas run every December. We do like 10 shows around Denmark, just to celebrate the electric guitar.
Yeah. Now, is that I mean, doing your own music at that point, or are you doing any Christmas classics because it's Christmas time, or?
Yeah, no, it's just we just do our own songs. Do a different set list every year, and it's just a lot of fun, to have a guitar band like proper, you know.
Absolutely,
You
man.
can, hey, Cole, you can book the band and they dress like Santa Claus and they come to your house if you want.
It'd be great, man. It'd be a heck of a party, Hey, I
Yeah.
also want to make sure, is there any relation to your band and the English band also called Electric Guitars, which was from the early 1980s?
I had no idea there was a band called Electric Guitars in the 80s. I gotta look it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they've got some releases out there and whatnot, but I don't think they're actually still going, but so it's probably not a problem. So you mentioned Mika. Who are the other players in electric guitars?
So the bass player is called Peter. Again, a good session player who did a lot of TV shows and played with Beth Hart and backed up some big international acts in Denmark. And then the drummer is called Morten. Morten drummed on Mike Tramp, Mendoza. He drummed for James Blunt. Super super talented drummer. Um, So yeah, that's the little electric guitars is the little side project, but it's still growing. So as long as there's an audience, we'll be out playing every December. As
Oh,
long as
there's an audience for it for sure, man. We all know that. It's like it seems like electric guitar playing, rock guitar and shredding and all that is really seems to be making a comeback, or maybe not even a comeback. It's more of just a boost. I mean, it's always been here. It's never left us. But it seems to me anyway, in the last few years, it's been escalating.
yeah, for sure. 100% because of the whole me YouTube, Instagram, that whole thing that people started to film themselves play, young kids from all over the world shredding, and that whole community uh,
Yeah.
of internet players definitely elevated the guitar market again. And I do also believe that guys like John Mayer put the guitar back on the radio.
Yeah.
Keith Urban, you know, to a certain point, Ed Sheeran and all these acoustic players. Every second song I hear on the radio now, like Shawn Mendes or uh, Miley Cyrus, there's a guitar involved in pretty much every pop song at the moment, and I love it.
It's great
Yeah.
stuff. It's great stuff. So as far as I can see, it's the latest release would be Speed of Sound, and
Yeah.
released August 16 of this year of 2024. And yeah, that's great. What kind of gear were you using to record with? I mean, the amp modeling stuff is so popular these days. We're using that, or are you using real amps?
I'm still miking up my amps because of, I don't know,
Sentimental value.
sentimental values first, of course. To be honest, I just love amps and microphones, and I have so
Yeah.
many kits and cabinets, and I do have a real studio. So why should I fool around with plugins?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
the plugin is only for live if you don't want to travel with a lot of equipment, and maybe you bring, like camper or something.
mhm, mhm.
That's basically for that. But
Yeah, could
Yeah,
could make things just a lot quicker or easier in the studio. But yeah, I mean, if you really know what you're doing, which obviously you do, you get your own studio and all that, so why not? Just mic it up. It's the real thing.
yeah.
And it sounds great. I mean, I've been checking it out, listening to it. The tonal quality is excellent. And so yeah, but bringing up the live rig. So to perform live, are you bringing the real rig, or are you bringing Kemper or Axe effects?
Well, I'm still on, proper tube amps. I'm a Marshall and Dorsey, so I always ask for a couple of JCM 800s and run pretty much just a couple
yeah.
of pedals, in the front end, and then a couple of line six effects like delay, reverb, chorus, and stuff after
Uh,
that, and that's it. And I've done that for 40, 30 years.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. It's
it's all
great.
on the fingers, man.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Have you checked out Neural?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
amazing. It's
yeah. It's
incredible.
Yeah, I see they're really increasing in popularity as well. It's like some years ago it was Fractal with Axe FX, and then Kemper kind of took on board and really captured the market. But Neural seems to be really rising in popularity as well.
There's a couple of plugins I reach out to if, let's say, if I'm doing a demo or if we are almost done with a mix, and then my client goes, "I wish we had a guitar part for the choruses or whatever." I always grab the soft tube Marshall, which is, in my opinion, the most authentic sounding Marshall plugin, or Friedman plugins.
Oh
Sound
yeah.
really epic. The Dirty Shirley, love it.
That's great stuff. Well, tell you what, let's take a listen to your latest release with electric guitars. Here's a minute and a half of Speed of Sound on the Rock Music Alliance.
I'm running over. I'm running out of time. Can't get any lower. I know I'm past my prime. We stand united. Fight to survive. You can't deny it. We're still alive. Acceleration. No dehydration. To the speed of sound. To a higher ground. Acceleration. New destination. To the speed of sound. To a higher ground. Let's shift to a higher gear. Let's drive without fear. Let's take a bite of life before we disappear. Acceleration.
Hey man, that is a lot of harmony guitars. I dig it. It's harmony guitars are at work in that song. It seems like harmony guitars are making a comeback, at least here in the US. I'm hearing more of them. And
Yeah.
does it seem that way to you, or Soren?
It's, I don't know. It's such a classic sound, and if you do it properly, you can't really mess with it. It's so iconic, and especially because me and Mika, we've been, players for so long, and we've been a team for more than 10 years. It takes us literally 10 seconds to do, just to map it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, no,
And
it's such a cool sound, but it's also truly amazing to watch. Like I'm seeing some shredders, starting to do harmony work a lot. Guys like Andy James,
yeah,
Nina Strauss, yeah, and they're just like doing the harmony parts. Whoa.
yeah, I know. But we try to keep it 70s, not too much gain, and play a little melody, and just,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
we grew up with John Sykes, and we grew up with, the Lizzie Boys, Gary Moore. He's my big, big hero. So we keep it old school.
you can't
Melody.
you can't go wrong with melody.
No, no, no,
Can't go
no,
wrong with that.
no.
Yeah, so Soren, so you're co-owner of Medley Studios in Denmark.
Yeah.
How did that come about for you?
Well, I think I was 16 or 17 when I got my first four tracker, the old Fostex. Remember those small tape
Yeah,
trackers?
I used to have those. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good start machine for me, a good piece of equipment. And because I was, obviously fascinated by guitar playing, but I also loved the picture of a song. I loved Boston. I loved everything from ELO. I loved
Yeah.
everything that came out of Tom Petty, those, high-end productions. So why is the two guitars, instead of one? And then I said to my folks, we need to buy one of those four trackers. I need to start. So I bought a drum machine and a bass and a keyboard and a four tracker, and just slowly got into production. And long story short, I had a couple of different studios through my career, moved to Copenhagen, had another studio, moved out of that studio, and then we had that opportunity. We heard that Medley Studios were for sale, which is a legendary old 80s, 90s studio where Prince and Radiohead and Cardigans and Roxette and, lots of big bands recorded. So I think we were three companies that came up with this co-owned setup where we took over the studio and managed to create four different stations without killing the studio vibe and building too many walls. And that's probably my biggest project ever. That's the Medley Studios, and being a co-owner of that, it's a trip. I mean, come on, it's a great 400 square meter studios in the center of Copenhagen, and my whole life is that's the studio.
So which kind of board you have in there?
I used to have a Trident desk, the 65 Trident desk, and then I sold it and I bought a TL Audio tube desk. And last year I sold that, and now I have 24 Neve style preamps.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
The Neve.
Vintech, called Vintech 1073, and they're so nice.
Yeah, it's terrific, man. So I know a lot of people, they really have to stretch their budget to get like channel strips, like for their computer studios, getting the Neve channel strips, So
Yeah,
that's an
so
awesome
it's
thing.
all about the, how you call it, I forgot the name now. The Neve what? The
The Neve circuit, which is popular, is called 1073. That's
yeah,
kind of a popular preamp, and there
it's
was a
all about the
school,
preamps. Yeah,
yeah, there was a
sorry.
school that did the new equipment, so they bought SSL desks, and I got a good offer for 24 channels, and I was like, yep, shoo, bought him.
That's great, man. That's great. So as far as I can see, you're co-owner of it since 2006. Who's the other co-owner?
Tim Christensen from Dizzy Miss Lizzy, which is a big, big Danish band. He was one of the main guys when we bought it, and then a third person called Soren, funny enough, his company. So we were three companies.
That's cool.
And yeah.
Yeah,
And now,
almost 20 years. It's got to take note. It's almost 20 years.
crazy. I know. But it's great. We have a great community and we make sure everything works. It's a trip. I gotta be honest.
So you're active in the studio. I want to make sure people, like, you're not just an owner, you're actually like the producer, mixer.
Yeah, yeah. I always say this brain is a guitar player and this brain is a producer engineer. I always look up to people like, Lenny Kravitz. He's a rock star and a songwriter, and he's also a producer.
Hmm.
Like Jeff Lynne, he's an artist, he's a guitar player, but he's also an engineer and a producer.
Yeah, your
So
studio's list of clientele is really impressive. Is there a client that you're most proud of to have worked with?
well, Glenn Hughes, of course. I mean that I remember when Glenn and we teamed up, he didn't even knew that I had a studio. He had no idea I owned a studio. He didn't know that I could produce or Pro Tools or anything. And then after 4 or 5 years, he realized, like, wait a minute, Soren, do you produce? And I say, yeah, that's what I do for a living when I'm home. So when he decided he chose me as the producer for the album called Resonate, because true story, we had a gig at Sweden Rock and we had a gig at Hellfest, and there were 3 weeks between those two festivals. And he said, "Should I just sit on a hotel for 3 weeks, or should I go to the
Oh,
studio with Soren and record an album in Denmark?" So we decided to do that, sorted out the budget, and Glenn flew in. We did Sweden Rock and went straight to the studio. And when Glenn was on his phone, texting friends and having fun, I was editing stuff, and he said, "Soren, Chad Smith is playing Roskilde Festival. Is that far away?" "No, it's just 30 minutes away." "Okay, cool. I think he's coming tomorrow." So I had Glenn on bass, Lucky Doley from Australia on keyboards, Chad Smith on drums, and me on guitar. That was a big freaking day for me. Maybe my
wow.
proudest moment at that studio.
That's really cool, man. You know, um, in touring America, did your tours take you through Minnesota? And did you get a chance to see Prince's facility out there, Paisley Park?
I did not. We did.
Oh, yeah.
I
Claudio, have you ever visited Paisley Park in Minnesota?
I didn't see it, but I recorded the Foo Fighters studio, the
oh
one
no,
the 606, and I rehearsed there. I rehearsed there with Taylor Hawkins and Chris Squire for his award show, whatever. So
That's
yeah, that's the need. I saw the need there, but fell in love. I was going like this, touching her.
amazing.
yeah. Soren, if you're like I say, make it a point. I think everybody in the music industry really at some point should visit Paisley Park and take the tour. Take the tour of Paisley Park. You'll be amazed, and
Yeah.
it's just an incredible facility that he built out there.
Yeah, well, as you know, Prince had a Danish bass player for the last 8 years. Her name is,
Yeah, I know her.
you know, Ida? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And Ida gave me the call because we were both NAMM demonstrators at TC Electronic maybe 15 years ago. And when I just remember that phone call, she was like, "You're not going to believe what I'm saying now, Soren, but I got a phone call from Prince's personal assistant. I'm flying to Minnesota to rehearse at Paisley Park." And I was like,
wow.
"What?" And she came home, told me about that place, and obviously she got the gig, and her life was changed forever. So Ida told me the stories. I know about it, Cole. I know it's really epic.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like nowhere else I've ever seen, and it's just a wonderful vibe. You feel great just walking around the place. Like, yeah, I could totally see living in this place. Be amazing. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
she's
guys,
amazing, that girl.
yeah, Ida's great. Killer bass player.
Yeah, I saw her playing.
Yeah.
Wow.
let's take a pause here for a break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Let's see, we're going to ask Soren a little bit about his early days. So we'll be right back. Attention guitar players, the Thimble Slide allows you to slide and fret, freeing your slide finger. The Thimble Slide is a mini guitar slide designed to be worn on the tip of your finger, about halfway down your fingernail. When worn there, you can still bend your finger, and most importantly, it's allowing enough of your fingertip through so you can still press the guitar strings. The Thimble Slide is larger at the back and smaller at the front, so it follows the contour of your finger. So when you're wearing the slide, it's not loose or rattling around on your finger. This also allows your other fingertips in nice and close for playing. The sizing gap allows you to make the slide a little bit larger or a little bit smaller for a nice custom fit. While wearing a Thimble Slide, you can of course use it as a slide, but more importantly, you can still press the strings while wearing it. So you can play chords, play lines, bend notes. Really, you can still do all the things that you need to do to keep playing guitar while wearing it. You don't have to take it off. With its patented shape, you can slide and fret while wearing the Thimble Slide. Visit thimbleslide.com. That's thimbleslide.com.
Hey, this is Chris Wise. You're listening to the Rock Music Alliance.
Hey, we're back with Soren Andersen on the Rock Music Alliance. Soren, where were you born and raised?
I'm Danish, born and raised in Denmark. A little village called Fredericia. Not famous for anything really, but we had a very strong music scene, a lot of musicians, we had a strong community of, rehearsal facilities and, 2 or 3 small pubs and clubs to play. The year summer festival, the winter festival. So my mom and dad were both ex-musicians. They were musicians when they were in their teens. My mom is a singer, my dad is a guitar player, but then they got kids and totally changed their lives. But that means I grew up with pianos and guitars, and a record collection with T-Rex and Beatles, and my dad,
Yeah.
he loved Dire Straits and the Beach Boys, and I think I was 3 or 4 years old. I had headphones on every day. My mom and dad, they just knew where I was in the living room, just listening to records, just totally obsessed. So at the year 8, my mom and dad bought me a classical guitar, and I strummed it, hang down your head, dumb Julie. After 1 week, I could play chords. And before I knew it, me and my dad, we picked up an old electric guitar, 2 pedals, and a small tube amp. At I think I was 12 years old. And when I was 13, I started to purchase VHS hot licks videos from where I could get it from the local music store. Uh, and I was 14, 15, just studying music, like, stayed home from school just to study music on my VHS tapes. So before I knew it, I mean, not to blow my trumpet, but when I was 16, I could play guitar, and it was in tune, and I had time, and I had a Marshall stack and a Strat, and funny enough, to my luck, there was a female singer from across the river, and she was the winner of something we called the Eurovision Song Contest. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
what that is. It's a big, big music songwriter contest in Europe. And she was the winner of the Danish division, and she needed a guitar player for the tour. And I got offered that tour. And obviously, everyone else in the band was older than me. They were 20 something. And I was 16 years old. First time I was in a tour bus with a salary and full on touring with laminates and everything. And I was so young. But that kind of started it off for me, like, okay, I can actually make a living, Now I need an accountant, and
Yeah, it's
So I
terrific, man.
I didn't even go to high school, or nothing. Straight out of 10th grade on the road.
Me
And
neither.
yes,
I
Wa-
stopped
Was
everything. I stopped
wa-
school too.
was there ever a time where you were where you were playing covers, like in a band playing covers and like playing a bar scene?
yeah, yeah. I've been a cover. I've been playing covers my whole life. Because that's where you learn to play music, if you ask me. Of course, if you I know a couple of those bands that just write songs and get the record deal and get through the needle hole and do that for the rest of their lives. But as a session player, I've been playing all kinds of, covers, from Michael Jackson to David Bowie to Queen to Rage Against the Machine to, everything, because it's just, that's how you learn to play. And still to this day, it happens now and then that if there is like one of those parties where everybody goes up and join in and play. I love it. You want to sit in on whatever, yeah, like fuck it. I love that kind of stuff. But I'm not in a cover band, and I haven't been in a cover band for 15 years. I kind of stopped when I
Right,
was
right,
in.
right. You could argue, of course, that if it's not your own music, it's all covers, but it's also what you bring to it. Like you're playing some Deep Purple stuff and playing with Glenn Hughes. I mean, obviously you didn't write that music, but it's also, it's also what you bring to the table,
That's it.
and obviously you're bringing a lot of experience. You're bringing a lot of playing experience to the table. So that's why your stuff
Yeah.
sounds so great, Soren.
I want to ask you a question about the the last 2 albums that you record. The one with Marco Mendoza and the one with Glenn. Do you co-write with them? Or
Yes, I co-write with Marco, because he loves to co-write. And for me, to co-write with people from America, Australia, or England is amazing, because the language. I can speak English, it's fine, but to write a lyric, that's a different game. So me and Marco, we are really, really fast when we write songs. He has a great sense of words and ideas, and he's a great riffer. He's an amazing bass player. We all know he's an amazing fusion bass player, but he likes, meat and potato rock. He likes AC/DC. He loves Thin Lizzy. He was
Yeah.
for 10 years, so he understands the majority of classic rock. So yeah, me and Marco, we co-write a lot. Mike Tramp, we done a few co-writes, but he mostly write his own songs. Um, Glenn, same thing. He writes his own stuff, all of it. I write some parts, like, if there's a chorus and I think, Glenn, what do you think of this melody under your vocal? Yeah, it works. Put it in. Um, but
Okay.
I think being a producer and have the responsibility of a track, I can't just sit still if I think I have a better idea. I just go, hey, just shoot it down if you hate it, but would it work if you change those two lines? And that's how it is.
That makes you a writer right there.
Well, guys,
Because
we're
sorry, no, I wanted to tell you no, because I did an album with the band in Canada, and this guy said he changed a couple notes on my keyboard parts, and he said, "Well, it's Claudio Pesavento and la la la," I said, "What?" Yeah, it happens.
Well, we're coming up to the end of the show. Maybe time for one or two more. Claudio, if you got any questions,
Well, I
better
wanted
shoot
to
them in
ask
there.
him about the recording process, basically, because when I went to East West Studios, I met this guy that was engineer there, and I showed him my sessions in Pro Tools, and he said, "Oh no, your waves are too small. You have to be bigger. The bigger you sound, right?" Is that the reality for you?
I think it's kind of it's something we remember from being a tape engineer, that it has to hit the tape to a certain level to avoid hiss and stuff. But as I know, you got 90 dB to fool around with in Pro Tools, so you can record it pretty like low without damage or anything. As long as your
Yeah.
controls are great and your preamps are good, it doesn't really matter how hard you hit Pro Tools. I would
Well,
even say,
I was talking about the size of the wave, like the you got a different size, right?
I know.
Like you can have like a 25 megabytes, 100.
Yeah. Well, okay, there are different what's the word? You can record in 44.1, or you can record in
48, 32. Yeah.
88.1 and stuff. I don't really care. 24-bit and
Yeah,
48.
well, I was wondering. That's all. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I just stick to 24-bit and 48, and then seems to be the standard nowadays.
yeah.
A lot of people recording at 48. I think I record still at 41. I'm fine.
Yeah. It's about the song.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
Yeah, it
do
like,
is.
but I do spend a lot of time on getting it right from the get-go. I want to, I rather walk in and work with the mic on the snare drum for 30 minutes, because the fix and the mix thing, not so much. I think we should record it proper and then
yeah,
yeah.
got it.
So hey, just a kind of a random question just popped into my head here. Since you're in Denmark now, sort of in your area, have you heard of the band Cyan Kicks?
Cyan Kicks.
They're from
Is it
Switzerland.
Switzerland?
No, they're from Finland. Yeah, they
Finland. Yeah,
yeah,
Finland. Sorry. Yeah.
they're in Helsinki. They're in Helsinki, Finland. I just bring it up because I just think the production on their stuff is fantastic. If you check that out, they're like an alternative electronic rock. There's metal in it. It's a mixture of pop rock, melodic rock, electronic rock, all kind of mashed up together. Really good stuff. It's really high energy, and I don't remember the producer's name. It's the guitar player.
Yeah,
I just think he does a fantastic job. If you ever hear it, check it out.
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny with Scandinavian rock, because apparently a lot of those old school 80s and 90s rock bands from Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, they get a lot of attention out there. When I tour America and audience find out I'm Danish, if we have a meet and greeting or a signing thing, are you familiar with Merciful Fate? Have you heard of Pretty Maids? Do you know the guys from DAD? They're really, there's apparently a lot of respect for Scandinavian rock bands. And I
I
didn't.
get the impression that a lot of people over here look for it. I think they're seeking it out on the internet. You don't see it. You don't see it in the Hollywood clubs. You don't very much, and nobody talks about it. But I think they're at home looking at it.
Yeah,
Their sound is totally different than the American sound. I'm telling you that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's totally different. Because I was in a
One,
band. I was in a band. Sorry, I was in a band that we were doing like a power metal, neoclassical,
Mhm.
and the guy, the guitar player, he recorded the stuff with me like 10 years ago, and he never was happy with the sound, so he had to get somebody from Finland to help him with the mixes and all that stuff. And
Like,
still today, he didn't release anything. And it's been like 14 years, man. It's like
That's true. I
and
hope they do.
he wants to sound like them, but I don't know, man. Something
wow.
wrong. Something wrong.
That's rough. Good luck to him, that's for sure. But I know how that is. Like I've worked with some players who recorded, and just somehow they were not quite happy with it, so his stuff never got released. I
Right.
don't know. At some point, I don't know. I'm not sure which is wiser. Maybe at some point, you just let it get out there and go. Let it
Yeah,
go, man.
yeah, let it fly.
So I've got really just one last question I wanted to ask. It's you mentioned, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I just wanted to know, what was the moment in your career when you felt like you had really become a professional musician and that you were going to be able to make a living at it?
Hmm. Well, there's a couple of peaks, or how can I say, there's a couple of shows and events that I will remember for the rest of our life. And obviously, when we did that first tour with the Eurovision winner
Yeah.
almost 35 years ago, I was like, okay, I actually make money now, and I make adult money. It's not just pocket money, it's real money. Obviously, that was the whole, kickoff. And then when I moved to Copenhagen and I started to do these session tours for, really established Danish artists, I knew that, okay, there's no way I will look back. And of course, first show with Glenn Hughes in Russia, in Moscow, where I looked to the right and I was like, Glenn Hughes is, and I'm playing Burn. And there he is. That obviously that was a big, big game-changing moment for sure. Wow, what I've been through and what I have experienced through Glenn, I owe him my international career 100%.
You
100%.
went to Argentina too, right?
We've been everywhere. I've been everywhere with Glenn for
That's where I'm from.
Oh, really? You're from Argentina?
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely country. I love it.
Yeah, I miss it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, it's great. And gigs like the 50 years of Loud at Wembley, the Marshall 50 years anniversary. Just when I saw the roster of like, okay, Soren Andersen and Satriani, Paul Gilbert, Yngwie Malmsteen,
Wow.
which Billy Duffy and Zach Wilde and Kerry King. And what have I got myself into? That was like, that was just a freaking moment for me.
Oh, you belong there, man. You got it.
Thank you. It
Well,
means a lot to
guys,
me.
that brings us just about here to the end of the show. Anything else, you guys?
Anything you want to say, Soren?
Well, that would be thank you everyone for paying attention. And sorenanderson.net is my website. There's a new one coming up. I got a brand new website. I'm going to launch it very soon. More Glenn Hughes tours next year, as I know. Yes. I'm putting out a live album next year with my guitar trio. I'm in an instrumental trio called the Guilty Pleasures Trio. We have a live album with footage and everything. It will all be out next year. And the support of guitar players. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
The drummer on the tour, Glenn Hughes, is a beast.
Oh, that is fantastic.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right, guy. Well, Soren, that brings us to the end. I want to thank you very much for coming on and spending an afternoon to talk to us here. People listening, just like he just said, you can keep in touch with him at sorenandersen.net, and that's Anderson with an E-N at the end, sandersen.net. And of course, find him on social media. And you can look for the Rock Music Alliance on Patreon. Hopefully we got that going at some point. You find us on there, join us there. We appreciate the support. And Soren, thanks again for being our guest today on the Rock Music Alliance.
Thank you, Soren.
Thank you for reaching out. It's remember, we're in it together, always.
I'm Cole Coleman, and for Claudio Pesavento, the Rock Music Alliance, and the RMA Awards, thanks for watching and listening. Visit us at rockmusicalliance.com and check out this year's RMA Awards for rock, metal, and progressive rock music.